We're here. We're here and alive at Summer NAMM 2018. It's the last day. It's Saturday. And I've got Joey Landreth here of the Brothers Landreth. And we're just going to ask him a couple questions about how to be as awesome as Joey at guitar. So if you haven't heard the Brothers Landreth is one of the most, personally, one of the most refreshing bands I've heard in the last year or two. It's fantastic songwriting. It's fantastic instrumentation. It's tasty music. It's tasty, great music, and the guitar licks are make me weak in the knees.
Oh, man.
It's just,
come on.
It's fantastic. So it's an honor for me to have Joey here, and just to ask him a couple questions and figure out what's in his head and how we can all benefit from it. So.
Mostly just
Thanks.
cobwebs and dust is in my head.
Fantastic.
Or
Awesome.
would it be are in my head? I don't know.
So let's start at the beginning, a little bit of history. Kind of talk about your musical background before you were sitting on this couch at NAMM.
Yeah, okay. I grew up in a musical household. My dad was a musician growing up, and so we had access to a record collection that was curated by a working musician, and my mom was also a huge music fan. So we grew up with like a ton of different music, and that's kind of where my sort of where I fell in love with music. And then of course watching my dad play, and there were guitars everywhere, so it was kind of, we had no choice really in the matter. We were gonna play one way or the other.
So one of your first guitars was one of your dad's guitars, I guess?
Yeah, well, he had a great little collection, and my very first guitar that was actually mine was a Telecaster that his friend pulled out of a dumpster, and he was like walking down the street somewhere and saw like the headstock of like a Tele copy, and so we sanded it and refinished it because my dad's also a carpenter.
Yeah.
And we always had like fun projects like that. Like we built a couple guitars together, and I don't know.
That's fantastic. So that you started guitar pretty young. Did you do anything else like through grade school, like band or anything like that?
Well, I actually started on the piano.
Piano.
I started on the piano like a lot of people, and then I picked up the guitar around 8.
Oh, 8.
Quit taking piano lessons because what I really wanted was when I first started taking piano lessons, like I wanted to play like Jerry Lee Lewis and I wanted to play Beethoven.
Right.
Those two things, like, when you're a kid, you just like what you like, and that's what I liked.
Yeah.
And my piano teacher was like, well, you have to learn all this other stuff first. And I was like, nah, I don't like that. So then I went right into guitar. And
teach me Great Balls of Fire.
Exactly. And then the first thing that, like, within the first 20 minutes of my first guitar lesson with my dad, I could already play a song. Like, I could play, like, a shuffle. And so I was like, well, this is way better. Now, of course, in hindsight, I've spent the last, 5 years of my life catching up on all the stuff that I missed out on, which I would have gotten from piano lessons. But, I digress.
Yeah.
So, and then I played trumpet in school band. I was very bad at the trumpet.
Oh,
yeah.
But
I did actually play trumpet on a record once.
Whose record?
A guy named Eric Tuvley on his demo.
Spotify, go there right now.
Yeah.
Listen to some trumpet.
If you hear trumpet on there, it's garbage trumpet. Trumpeting.
I'm sure it's great.
It's not great.
Okay, so that's the history. That's kind of the background. Tell me a little bit about the formation of the band and what it looked like kind of early on.
Well, originally, the band was just supposed to be for fun with me and my brother. We were both sidemen, so I was working for a couple different sort of higher profile Canadian country acts. My brother was working for a higher profile indie band. And we were just like, we were touring constantly, and we just missed each other. So it was like one day it was like, hey man, let's get together and write some songs, and maybe we can have like a little side project for fun. Within the first handful of writing sessions, we had written a couple songs that we liked, but thought like, hey man, these songs might actually be good. And then the rest is history. I mean, like within 4 or 5 months, I'd quit my gigs. He had quit his gigs, and we were full on into being an independent band.
That's fantastic. And how did you source the other guys that play with you?
Well, originally it was myself and my brother and our drummer Ryan Voth, and Ryan was always the guy that we always played with. He was always the drummers in my band, and if he wasn't the drummer in the band, he was the first call sub. And I started playing with Ryan when I was like 14, so it was just kind of like when we needed a drummer, there was no question who we called. And then originally we had a keyboard player, for the first couple years of the band, and then we hired Ariel Posen after the keyboard player left.
Yeah. Who's another fantastic, inspiring guitar player.
He's pretty sweet at guitar.
Yeah. He's one of you and him, and there's a couple other ones I can think of that, I get so exhausted with guys just shredding and just, the pentatonic just fretboard vomit. But there are other guitar players that really that choose parts wisely and play inspiring, well thought out parts that don't wow people, but that move the soul.
Oh man!
And so with that, that doesn't happen overnight. So there's probably a lot of time and a lot of devotion into practicing before you ever hit the stage. So tell us a little bit about what when you're by yourself and you're practicing, warming up, kind of what your regimen looks like.
Yeah. I'm funny thing. Like I've never really been. A great technician on the guitar. I think like certain techniques develop, but I always chase the Muse with like kind of by ear first. So like I found like harmonically I really love like Bach, for example, like all the piano preludes or the violin preludes and the piano concertos and stuff like that really caught my ear all the time. So I spent a little bit of time learning some of that stuff and analyzing some of that stuff and trying to figure out how it would translate to the guitar in terms of choosing chord voicings.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of listening and a lot of analyzing, and it's for me my practice is usually is usually a lot of listening and then a lot of discovery. So like I listen, I figure out what it is, and then I try and work it out on the guitar in a way that's not. I don't know. I'm not really expressing myself properly here, but it starts with the ears first for me.
Totally. Yeah.
And I'm always like, I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm a slide guitar player, and that's something that's very specific to the guitar. It's like you don't play slide piano unless you play slide whistle, which is a very similar instrument. But
they're so close. I think slide guitar is a derivative from.
It
slide
is.
whistle.
I'm actually working on a slide whistle record right now. It's all free jazz, stream of consciousness.
It's really good so far.
It's amazing. But I try not to be super guitar-y about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's really helpful.
And I just like I like to listen to a lot of instruments that are not guitars, particularly because I don't know, I feel like guitar playing gets really pigeonholed into this is how we do vibrato, this is how we bend notes, this is how we make chords. And
there's something about listening to guitar, and you're like, when you kind of figure out the trick, you're like, okay, the mystery kind of goes away. But if you're listening to another instrument that you really don't know how to play, I feel like for me it's a lot easier to get moved.
Yeah, very much so. And I heard Pat Metheny say one time that he doesn't identify himself as a guitar player. The guitar is just the vehicle for his creativity, and not that I'm anywhere near Pat Metheny, but I like that thought. Like the guitar is the vehicle for music, and that's kind of what I try to think about. Again, I'm a slide guitar player, so it's pretty pigeonholed already. But whatever.
You make it sound great.
Thanks,
you
man.
make it sound great.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've got a couple songs. Your band's got a couple songs that you love.
Yeah.
You guys have practiced. It's time to play some shows. When you go to shows, people are really digging it, and it's like, man, I kind of think we need like a next step, maybe in personnel. And so a lot of bands bring on like a band manager or a tour manager or a front of house guy or something like that.
Yeah.
Are there any of those positions or partnerships that you see as really beneficial for bands starting out wanting to grow their audience?
Yeah, oh, for sure. You know what? I will honestly say, if you're totally independent, let's say you have a band, you have a record, and you don't know what to do next, in my opinion, the best move is an agent. And you find an agent
on Craigslist.
Exactly, or Tinder or whatever. But you find somebody who loves your music and who's willing to go to the wall for you. Their commission pays for themselves time and time and time again. Management is great, but you have to find somebody who, like, the sort of imagery with management and agency is like, you know, with a manager, you marry a manager. So you don't want to jump into a relationship with a manager right away. So, but an agent, man, it just gets you moving right away. And then the next thing for me is front of house. You know, get a great front of house guy who's going to help you represent what the band sounds like.
An agent, kind of unveil the curtain for us, so some guys are going to be watching this video, and they're going to go to Google and Google band agent.
What's the difference
so
between?
So how do you source like a quality person?
Okay, that's a great question, because there's a lot of agencies out there that there's a lot of agencies, like there's William Morris, CME, Pac-N in Canada, who we deal with, and we love them. You know, what an agent does, an agent books your gigs. You don't necessarily need to get somebody from a big agency. You just need to get somebody who's willing to make the phone calls, send the emails, and pump your tires. We work with a guy named Paul Lohr down here. Agency's called New Frontier Touring, and they have been absolute champions for us. And I think a lot of times people are really nervous up front because they go, oh well, these people want 10 or 15% of gross income from touring. Like, that's a lot to part with. But if they can double or triple or quadruple your earnings, then debatably it's a 10 or 15% worth spending. So you just find somebody who loves the shit out of your music. Just find somebody who loves your music.
We're a pedal company.
Okay,
it's fine.
We don't have to edit that out.
No.
Boop. But just find somebody who loves your music and who likes you, and don't be afraid to work really hard.
I like what you said there. I hope everybody hears that. Don't be afraid to
work really hard, because I think a lot of people want to just get to the point where they don't have to work hard, and the reality is that's never anymore.
Yeah.
Like the days when when you get to have somebody walking you around by the arm and like, would you like some strawberries? Those days are gone, man. Like,
exactly.
You gotta do your own tour management. You gotta count your own merch. You gotta make sure you know how much money is in the bank account and how much money has to go out. You just have to do it.
So my dreams aren't gonna come true just because I want them to come true?
I mean, I guess there's exceptions to the rule, but pretty much, yeah.
All right, so after this video, people are probably gonna want to listen to a little bit more of your craft. Where do you want to send those people to listen to you guys?
Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. Just the bros.landreth.
The bros.landreth. Spotify. Check it out.
Or my name, Joey Landreth. I got a solo record out as well.
Joey Landreth, solo record. Listen, be inspired, and then go make some awesome music. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming out.
Such a pleasure,
You're
Colt.
good, dude.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, likewise.
All right. Bye.